off the Kalista, an incredibly oppressive champion at early stages of the game. Set up for an explosive bot lane matchup, but the Trundle at early stages of the game. Set up for an explosive bot lane matchup, but the Trundle is there for Cuz.
Huge.
I'm known Trundle blind. I don't want to say hater because that's too much, but I don't love it. We'll see though. Cuz thus far has earned the confidence in this tournament and is really good into Kalista, being able to slow her down and make sure that she doesn't get the space that she so desperately needs in fights. This is also, again, there's a layer to this, right? There is the fact that Dom had a great Kalista game against Gen G, but he might now be picking up the Caitlyn here to try and fight for that bot lane prio.
And this is a very powerful siege combination. Trundle pillars with Caitlyn pushing early, assuming that Peter is actually going to play a bully support. Sometimes they have actually, for KT, they did like Caitlyn Braum. They didn't necessarily fully index into a Caitlyn Lux or Morgana or Karma type lane. And so they definitely have some options still open to them. But I do really like siege comps and an extra range there with Trundle because you can make use of that pillar. But here is the Nocturne that we were talking about earlier, does get locked in for T1. And I really do think those combination comps are going to come through for them with the heavy dive. You get Keiria's Renata here, he's going to have a big one.
And for lane, that feels good. But Renata, blind can get punished. Obviously, the 2v2 is absolutely devastating. And that's why T1, I think, have really struggled in this series. It feels like KT's early game has been better. Almost all of the times is BDD going to be blinding Cassio or playing Cassio into what is already such a short-range composition. Is going to be feeling impeccable. And it was this pick that got KT over the line against Gen G.
It was, and now against an immobile support like the Renata, luckily has the Kalista to bail her out, but the pillar is a massive threat to any immobile champion, something that has to be respected. With the Caitlyn, with the Cassio, getting grounded by that miasma, having a pillar placed behind you means there is no chance for escape, but T1 bringing out a lot of comfort, bringing out a lot of power here in the first phase.
And you can protection ban the Galio because you third pick this Cassio on red side. There you go, and you can whittle down on even the few options that Faker does have left. Those combinations that we're talking about for the Camille Galio Nocturne just will not be there. I like the Ornn though, as far as the ban, because you know that KT have very strong scaling and are building towards that big team fight.
And it feels kind of awkward, because normally what you'd want to do into Cassio is outrange her, right? Go for something like the Hui, which we've seen a decent amount of. And I think it's okay, but it doesn't really synergize that well with the Nocturne, right? You'd rather play something that can actually dive deep, that can go in aggressively, but trying to play any dive into Cassio, into Trundle, into Caitlyn just doesn't feel great. And there you go. KT, they say, we're not even going to take that gamble. We don't care about the comp mismatch. We want to protect BDD with 2 bans towards Fake. 4 in total here, setting BDD up for success.
And we knew in a world of Fearless, depth of champion pool was going to be incredibly important, because getting that wind on Mundo. Owner not able to find that wind on his Viego. Now we're seeing 2 more conventional meta picks get taken off the board. KT feels so set up for success here. Faker's champion pool so heavily diminished.
I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing from Score. He is a legacy player for KT. The organization really has relied on him over years and years as player, as coach. And he's setting them up again. Oh my goodness, is it going to be the Crank?
The Blitz. I don't like the Nautilus matchup into Renata. Feels nigh unplayable, but Blitz is a different story altogether. Peter!
Tom Kench. Okay, an answer into the power that this Nocturne can bring. Denies a lot of the dive.
Yeah, exactly. He knows that they're going to round out the rest of this comp with more dive, so preemptively grabbing the Tom Kench.
First Kench that we've seen this tournament as well, and it's perfect that he's going to get the counter pick. What is Doran going to go towards? That is a Doran classic, certified. Was one of the pivotal points. I was thinking about this.
Yanivia locked in. Obviously a champion against champions like Trundle and the Tom Kench. The power of that ulti to really slow you down the walls against a Cassio can be devastating.
What is it going to be for Doran? Ornn is on, Yorick gone. Often we see these blind picked.
And gentlemen, it feels a bit scattered from T1.
Yeah, it's still got to be the Gragas. They round it out. Okay, it is a bit versatile. Honestly, though, I'm favoring the KT side at the moment, and they get counter.
Okay, let's all take a breath.
No, we're not gonna get baited by offers.
No room for breathing.
No.
Mordekaiser.
What is he going to lock in here? Perfect. What's the R5?
It is interesting because Mordekaiser is a champion that can still split push even when faced with Nocturne comps.
True.
So I do like it even when T1 have ways to attack side lanes. With Nocturne and other people joining, it is something that can still always have threat there due to the Mordekaiser ultimate.
I will also just say, in terms of ease of execution, there's almost no reliable hard CC on the entirety of this KT lineup. They're really going to need to have full map control, be better on the setup, because on the opposite side, you have these walls that can catch people out that matches the one piece of CC that feels like could do something for KT, which is the pillar. You've got the stuns, you've got the Renata, the Gragas to potentially set up these plays. Huge, I think, burden on Doran to be the guy who can make this happen.
And it was a 2023 Spring Finals where Doran had a truly majestic performance on the Gragas. That was back down into T1, to which this day in the LCK, there is a discussion as to whether or not he was robbed from MVP for how good his Gragas was, and that is with match point for KT, what T1 decides to trust him with.
KT on the cusp of winning their first trophy in their first finals after their first semi-finals. An unprecedented run, but they are going up against T1, the greatest to ever do it. A team hungry to find redemption for Faker. 2015, 2016, denied in 2017. This roster wants to be the first to make the three-peat happen.
The ever-elusive three-peat. And as you say it, Keria flashes the Faker emotes. See if they can actually do it this time. T1, of course, they have to approach this as one game at a time. Every single game must win for them to extend the series. Every play critical, including the level ones.
Faker trying to move away. Good damage going down on Owner, forcing that early flash out. You have to be terrified now because Cuz is going to start to take over in the jungle.
Yeah, Trundle definitely can go for invades and look to punish flashes.
Yeah, PJ Trundle with a flashless Nocturne definitely big, as we can see. A little bit of a trip down memory lane. T1. As we keep saying, in case maybe you just tune in, maybe you're like, what's all the ruckus about? Have had so many ups and downs, and in this modern era, it's been the four-man core of Owner, Faker, Guma, and Keria. We've had Kana originally in 2021. We've had Zeus in 22, 23, and 24, and now Doran. They find their backs against the wall.
How fitting is it that it's KT Rolster that stands in front of T1 now, when it was T1 in 2013 that went over them to go get their first Worlds title. See if they can do it. Okay, Owner, no flash, but it doesn't matter. He can still clear as Nocturne. You want a full clear at least 2 times.
He can beat the jungle camps.
Yeah, and then
he doesn't need flash.
Just clear in peace, and then your flash will be up in no time. That's how you look at it.
Definitely a good luck is BDD is going to be the first to get to level 2. Neither one wants to be too aggressive with their cooldowns. Obviously, if a single Noxious Blast connects, the potential for BDD to just run Faker down is very real. Nice handshake coming in. Immediate barrier coming out from Dokdom. Gumayusi using a barrier of his own just in case the tower shot does come through. So super dominant 2v2 here already from the side of T1.
And I do think you kind of know that when the Kench gets locked in, you're just not going to have the laning pressure. This is really a pick that is expected to have pressure as you go deeper into the series, right? Or rather into the game, when the dive will inevitably follow. I gotta say though, Kench into Anivia and Gragas really doesn't feel quite as good. I think the Nocturne and the all-in from Guma and Keria feels good to play into, but Anivia really makes it hard for you to actually reliably protect your carry, get W's off, and Gragas kind of self-explanatory. His ability to create space. Keria!
Flash away. Keria tries to get him with the Q flash. Dokdom quick on the reactions, crucially, but that is a flash down in the laning phase. And again, when Owner is flashless, may still be in a position come level 6 to really force this dive before Peter has access to that ultimate.
Big for this T1 bottom lane that T1 want to play through their bottom lane here with this comp, this Kalista, Renata, Nocturne trifecta that they've been able to get for themselves. And it is going to mean guaranteed bot side Scuttle Crab with the early push there, and the ward as well from Doran, who took his time from top lane to go ward the second one. So they'll know that this time around, Cuz has done the same thing he did last time, where he did the clear into recall and then look for the crab.
I do like, though, you see, even though Nocturne isn't necessarily like the #1 dive champion, all the precautions are being taken. Cuz actually hovers there to see if they go for the crash.
Hôm qua có một
The
pha
dive
anh
for the
1
first
phần
crash.
2 cái xong là anh
Doc
kiểu anh
Duck's
ấn
still going
nhầm
to be
nút tắt máy
substantially behind, though, forced the
nó đứng
base.
luôn.
And the early game going the way of T1 here in this fourth game.
Kind of double
Ý
value.
là
If you're
ấn
able to
lộ
shut down
đấy,
that
kiểu
Caitlyn early
lúc
game,
mà
it's
anh
so
lên
often
chuyện
is
anh
incredibly impressive. Now though on the top side,
không ở
Doran,
cái iPad nó
they
khác.
have to be careful. Good awareness though.
They should
And
know.
see the potential gank coming, knowing that there's really no play on the bottom side to be had for KT.
Không ở điện thoại thì bấm nhanh thì nó vẫn kịp.
Early stages of Mordekaiser versus Gragas, not too big. Plenty of sustain on the Gragas, no problem. So just a farm fest up there as both junglers will go into their second read clears. It's going to be a little bit quicker, of course, for Owner because of Cuz's little altered path where he goes for the quick recall there. And we'll see once again when the Nocturne does end up towards the bottom side of the map. Currently, though,
Ui, 60k
at
cơ.
least hovering into the fog of war, then going for pretty deep recalls.
Are seeing Faker taking not the best of trades, but not really botted. Has his egg still available. We'll see if Cuz can make something happen. Might look here. Has his Raptors just now done. Making his way over. Even getting a summoner or getting the egg would be big. And
Faker grounded, Cuz on the way in. Good wall to force the disengage, but BDD full committing even though he has no mana. They do manage to get the passive out of Faker. Cuz full committing. Peter on the way. The tongue lash there. They want to get the kill to BDD, but it'll go to Cuz in the end.
And what could be the deciding game, KT, they send all resources again towards mid lane to BDD to make it happen.
But it's Cuz that gets the kill again. Now we saw how that benefited them. As T1 wanting to look for the punish here.
Keria and Guma are powerful. They move in with the heal, a pillar to immediately block them out. The 50-50 goes to Owner. Flash away from the handshake is Peter barely able to make it out alive. Good recovery from T1.
And he flashes for that. He's like, no, trust me. I got this. Takes the wheel and finds the 50-50 steal.
Sometimes you need inspiration. When your team are backs against the walls and you just lost out first blood mid, you have to come up with some really big plays. And throwing it there, throwing the flash for the flip, getting it for Owner.
T1 get the objective, and now they've set up Doc Dom in the mid lane, but Peter a little bit late. You can see how, while BDD was comfortable in that 1v1, it's so difficult for Doc Dom. If a wall had appeared just a little bit more behind him, he very likely would have died like the one we're seeing here. Luckily, Peter is there to cover. Knockup will not connect. Nice initial stun from Faker. Procs the phase rush, will back away. Doesn't have any damage under his belt yet, or that could have been a lot more concerning for the side of KT.
It's nice, you know, you get a little indicator for where you need to throw your stun. As Cuz will be able to maintain this lead thanks to the kill that he got. Owner about to hit 6 though, and that is going to be when he comes online is perfect.
Perfect, flash away. Doesn't want to risk going into the Death Realm just to come out a few seconds later on the wrong side of a wall from Faker. And I do really love when people play goofy skins in very high stakes matchups.
The Gragas burp, a classic. All right, so much tension though, so much riding on this game as we get the swaps back out, and KT opting to send Caitlyn up to the top side of the map, whereas Guma and Keria have full priority here, trying to push in on BDD's Cassio.
And looking at how the early game setups are going to go, it feels like who gets to the objective first, right? If you're able to use the priority in your lanes, use the priority of this Guma Keria lane, with the Kalista Renata, you're able to turn that into vision, and you're able to pick off members from KT as they rotate over. Because the pick potential is amazing. Turn off the lights, displace them either with the wall or with the Gragas. And there's a lot of damage available early on to take down these targets for KT. Again, it feels like it's going to come down to what can we find in the team fight.
Yeah, an excellent lane assignment from T1. Again, Faker easily able to wave clear, even in the face of the Caitlyn Tom Kench. Good lane, mid lane control from Keria and Gumayushi, and now Owner walks his way up top side. Immediate 3 grubs secure.
T1 continuing to stack the objectives that they need in this game. Using Guma and Keria, their priority nicely. They rotate over from mid lane to the grubs, up to top lane, and want to keep that pressure on.
Hey, they got the first dragon as well. You know, the way in which they did it was Was high risk, but ended up
All
working
planned.
out. All planned. Oh, I mean, Owner knew, you know. Otherwise, you're a Nocturne that uses his flash for no reason, but he trusted his smite button.
And they know that they are going to need to continue to stack those objectives. So we'll see if the emphasis on the earlier Dragon Soul for them does come to fruition. Kalista, of course, looking to be a snowball.
Ooh, and I do love that it's Doctom playing that Caitlyn skin from DRX. The last time that T1 lost in the finals, it was against that team as Faker. Should be fine here, but his prio is continuously maintained, and look at the top side. T1 keeping these waves shoved in, and plates will be their rewards.
And this feels like the first game where T1 are able to build such a clear advantage in the early stages. Yes, BDD has a small gold lead, but Gumayusi, essentially, no one can stop this man from pushing in, from building a greater advantage. And you already talked about Drake stacking, right? Kalista, a champion who very effortlessly can contest the big smites of the game, and when Owner and Guma are working together, it feels pretty impossible for KT to stop an objective that T1 have started.
Guma, on a lot of champions, is pretty good at contesting dragons as well.
Has been known for that,
Yeah, he has stolen, even at this tournament, multiple dragons on different AD carry champions. This time around, though, we continue the farm fest, my friends.
Nice. Love it. You know, it's
Bringing
game
the
4.
LCK to the world
It wouldn't be
stage.
your final
World's
cast if we didn't
finals.
get a little, the appropriate pace for an
Obviously,
LCK matchup.
the main issue is that normally we go completely off topic.
Sure.
We're not going to do that here.
No. Professionalism.
Yeah, obviously. There's a hex plate now done here for Owner. We'll have that available going into the first fight. Looks like double Roa to come through here for T1 as well.
20 seconds.
Ooh, BDD close to his.
At this stage, however, it feels like T1 just ahead in terms of overall prio. Yes, BDD has mid lane push, but really has to be careful about wandering into Fog of War when Owner has access to that ultimate. Cuz has finished the Sundered Sky, not opting for a Trinity Force, knowing he might need a bit more sustain. Carry a bit of poke onto Peter, and T1 with this bot lane push, very likely set up to be first to the Drake.
Owner's there, trying to, I think, scout out, and this time T1, if they can set up again, trying to regain control into Renata, into Anivia, kind of a nightmare. We haven't really talked about it too much, but the engage from KT, just not the best. It's really looking like a full commit or bust.
Cuz ready for the 50-50, Faker off to the side, decent damage onto BDD. Owner going all in, flashback coming out from Cuz, wall there as well. As BDD just barely able to skirt around the edge. So the objective set up now for the side of T1, double TPs. KT want to claim a bit for a bit more. Ulti coming out from the side of Carrier. Drake down the backline of KT, Berserk as they look if they can turn it back. But again, they don't have the tools to keep the fight going. And Peter wants to flash Tongue Lash, but that's all their CC. Perfect fighting off to the side, dragging Faker into the death realm. In the meantime, BDD starting to walk forward. Doran potentially cut out. The 4-man! BDD! Showing he can be clutch in the moments to count. Turning it again. KT were losing the fight as they lost the objective. Gumayusi will not be able to make the bailout work. The Drake to T1, the fight to KT.
Oh, Doran's gonna want that one back. The big whiff on the Gragas engage there.
Peter, knock up a bit too far. The thick skin, yeah, it's not gonna save you. Caught up in the hype, caught up in the moment. Faker gonna get one back.
Yeah, getting a little bit ahead of themselves there. The roller coaster, sometimes a bit of a bumpy ride. But as we highlighted, it's BDD that takes this fight into his own hands. That you see KT, they at first very respectful of the amount of disengage available on T1. And it's not until this pillar comes through that they're really ready to commit.
Yeah, and they try and pincer them against. Then Doran goes for the big play, but he's left in the middle, and BDD hits the ultimate, peeling all the rest of the DPS, getting those stuns. And T1 get chased out.
And Perfect, while that was happening, took out one of the big DPS sources for T1. Even though he doesn't actually take out Faker, we can see there, the BDD topping those damage charts, and Faker, he was just hitting a Mordekaiser.
Nothing you could do, Guma. BDD, the points of pressure that we look at for both teams. Gumayusi does go down in the end, giving a lot of that gold back to Doctom, crucially for this KT lineup. And BDD now with the Roa fully stacked, even as Faker struggles to complete his, is in an excellent position in the fights to come. Again, 1 minute and 30 seconds now until that Herald is available. Top side still close, mid lane still very much dominated by Guma. T1 would really like to have that prio advantage ahead of this next objective.
Yeah, they made the call. Just try and go for Doctom. You know, Doran getting in there for the knockback, but they didn't have the damage to follow it back up. And so the extra kills here for KT, but T1 preemptively got the Dragon. So that plan of stacking the Drakes is still there.
Ooh, and this is a game where I think Oceans are actually going to get a ton of value. It makes your side laning so oppressive. There are a ton of champions on either side that have a good amount of sustain. Going to become even more annoying when you become basically an immovable object in that side. And a lot of champions that, even with the Roas, even with the Seraphs, are going to chew through a ton of mana. As right now, KT feeling like, despite everything that's happened, game basically that even, right? If anything, it's in favor of T1, given that we've seen the Grubs go their way, given that they're currently up a whole whopping 2 plants as well.
And remember the context of all of KT's kills. It is a lot of flashes, it is a lot of full committals with very long cooldown sums and abilities. T1 still have a much easier time setting up fights, setting up picks, and because they've secured those 2 Drakes, they will inevitably be allowed to force at least one fight on their own terms, even now as we see both teams setting up for the Herald.
And I think that will be necessary for T1 because KT, they have used this Caitlyn so effectively from the very beginning of the tournament, and they've constantly looked towards the late game with this champion for Dokdom. And the siege power, the extra range. KT right now, speaking of siege, with the 4-1, but T1 are able to take control of it. They've got control and access to the Rift Herald as well, so they can continue to stack these neutral objectives. And that's the way that they're going to apply this pressure to KT and not allow them a lot of extra time in the game.
Early objective stacking going the way of T1, convincingly and fully. As a possible play onto Doran here, a dive with about 50 seconds left on the clock would be big.
Owner on the way. Access to the ulti. TP available. Full commit now going down. Owner turning off the lights. All of KT immediately pulling back. Peter isolated, caught out. Trying to stay standing with the thick skin. Abyss will dive away as Faker takes down the top lane tier 1. And again, this is the struggle of the KT composition. It's so hard to force anything, and T1 continue to trade up.
And T1 read them like a book. The 5-man rotation gets punished heavily. They're ready to keep Doran safe. This time around, that Gragas will not be taken down. And then on the cross map, the topside turret falls.
And now they're in a perfect position to contest this next Drake. The good news for the side of KT is at least Dokdom finally has that collector, is able to chip away at Gumayusi's health bar, but with the Blade of the Rune King and a red buff, Guma forced to be reckoned with. KT poking their heads, and they don't really have the vision, but they do have a ward on the flank. Perfect can find his way in. We'll just take the more conventional path through the mid lane, however.
And look at the flank from Doran here, trying to hide there on the Ocean Rift, looking for a big displacement.
Herald summoned in the mid lane. 5v5 at the pit. Flash ulti available for BDD if he wants to try and find it. Perfect isolated off to the side. Hostile takeover stops Peter from going any further. Dokdom completely isolated. Cooking the barrel for just a little bit longer, and now the Drake is going to go down. Owner taking it. Dokdom isolated. And Perfect trying to force a fight with Faker, but he gets nothing as the wall comes in. Flash over the wall. The ulti from BDD. He might get a couple more kills, but again, the objective belongs to KT. Even as T1 begin to fall, Faker and Carry are ready to turn it. But have they overcommitted the wall there, trying to disengage Carry? Faker running into the pinch, Obliterate connecting for full damage. Cuz on the chase, waiting a few seconds for the pillar, but the stun clutch to disengage for the side of T1.
T1, they get the Dragon, but at what cost, guys? The gold here going over to KT, some of these kills. Ooh, it is tense. I mean, T1, I think it's still good because they can still keep up their timeline for Dragon Soul.
I think you take it because of the double steal that comes through, right? Because they're unable to get this Dragon. Owner gets to secure again. And I want to look at the amount of flashes that are blown here for KT. As Dokdom gets taken down, completely focused by Guma, who stays alive until BDD gets on top of him. But the stalling here is a big deal, and the trades aren't that bad when it comes to kills here for T1. And with that objective going their way, so many summoners were blown there for KT.
And I think the big thing that I'm looking at is the effectiveness of this Tahm Kench. This is a moment where across this series it's felt like Peter, Dom have been doing well even when Dom's been getting caught out. But you saw there the disconnect. Peter flashes in to try to devour Dom. Dom flashes over the wall. They can't get the angle. And those moments of miscoordination are effortless for T1 to punish. And this is something they cannot afford because they're already falling behind in terms of map pressure. Even if they have a kill advantage, they're behind in gold. Single mistakes like that could cost them everything.
And I'm looking at Owner's smite button.
Oh yeah.
Inspect that thing. This guy is cold as hell, man. Keeps on getting these dragons. Started out the game with a flash to go steal it. Can he do one more? Does he have one more in him?
And started off the game without a flash to speak of. When it comes off cooldown, he flashes to steal it. And again, this is the member that we've heralded on this T1 lineup as the most consistent point. Being clutch around these objectives is crucial because now you see the runway, you see the path to victory. The Otacon, the soul, stand in front of T1.
In 2013, OGN Summer, those telecom wars going the distance. Will we go the distance here on the world final stage?
If we start a Twitter poll, can we ask for Game 5 blind pick?
I'm down.
It's a throwback.
Let's get double Zeds, double Shens back
Fearless
in there.
Game 5 blind pick.
Run it back.
We could do that, right? It's fine.
We have that authority, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly.
Absolutely not, for anyone concerned.
5 flashes have been blown by KT, and that does mean that I expect T1 to maintain prio in these lanes, because not having flash means that you're much more susceptible to a Nocturne showing up and taking your lunch money as Owner. We've seen him and Gumayushi often be the deciding factor together. As KT, they might just full send in an Otacon, at least to get the TP out of Doran.
Understand the gamble that KT are in because T1 are collapsing, and in the meantime, waves are being deleted. It's costing KT hundreds of gold just to be here. And if T1 take the fight, it might just cost them the game.
Perfect has
KT's
ult.
sticking around, ready to get them away. The ulti not stacked up. Perfect going forward just a little bit longer. The Death Realm to come out. Owner going to respond with an ulti of his own, turning off the lights on this team fight between both lineups. Gumayushi and Perfect in the Death Realm, and Guma takes those. T1 focusing on the objective. Cleanse use from Carrier. Heal on the way. Faker finding a bit more damage. BDD isolated. Hostile takeover going to connect onto BDD. It won't have much effect as Cuz tries to chase Faker out. But Dam, he might take Carrier. But it's T1 taking the Otacon. Guma securing the objective.
And there it is, the second smite for T1 strikes again as Otacon goes their way.
Oh man, that was a tense one. You can tell the call from KT, I think at the beginning, is have Mordekaiser just run at Owner and try and ult Owner. But look at Perfect getting kited. The Anivia does so much work keeping him at bay. Carrier as well, trying to help, trying to delay. And then as the ult goes down there, they kite it back out. Otacon resetting. They put so many spears into this Otacon.
And I cannot think of a worse champion to pull into Death Realm 1v1 than a Kalista that has been accelerated. Unfortunate from the side of KT.
Yeah.
You see that they have the damage, that they have the items. They just cannot put it where it counts. And ultimately, that just means that T1 are even further ahead. 23-9, the score in terms of the petals. 1,000 gold advantage and 20 seconds until T1 are set up to take the soul.
It's going to have to be a miraculous team fight here from KT, as they are second to the objective. And if this soul goes over, barring an Elder flip, T1's got to be feeling real good.
Doran isolated for a moment. The miasma just a little bit late as Faker's off to the side. Good damage onto Perfect to kick things off. Cuz still eating a bit of damage. The poke from T1, a bit tough to deal with. You can see the pierce that lands onto Dom, taking that chunk of health. Flash in, full committal to the fight. Pillar to isolate Owner, redemption to heal Faker right back up. That's almost every single cooldown burn. It's on BDD to try to turn it back, but it's a split fight. T1 coming from multiple sides, collapsing as Owner moves in on top of Perfect. Dorn has been isolated in the Death Realm, but he'll manage to make it over. Flashback, absolutely jukes him. And now it's Perfect caught in a 1v1 with Faker right as he comes out. He is stunned, but he won't be taken down. All of T1 in the pit. The spears stacked, smites available.
Faker's going to teleport back. They're recalling Mordekaiser and the Anivia.
The fight just continues to go. 6K getting lower. Dom trying to get a bit of poke. Hostile takeover connecting. They don't have a cleanse. Devour from Peter is good, but it might not matter. Cuz continuing to move in. BDD waiting over the wall. The ulti is there, but they don't need to face him yet. The turn on to Faker isn't enough. 3K. Cuz in the pit. At the end of the day, it does not matter because it is Doran to get the soul. KT might be able to get the fight, but there's too many members of T1 standing. Ocean Soul to T1 as everybody on KT
here.
Oh my God! T1 stand up, get the Ocean Soul, and they have made every person in this stadium stand up as well. Doctum gets hit with the carrier ultimate immediately. Peter trying to bail him out. They're both so low they get pushed out. Then Doran blocking the Caitlyn ultimate, protecting Owner here as they try and kite back into the pit. Meanwhile, on the top side, BDD was running straight at them. Immediately gets deleted there by Carrier and Faker on the other side.
And it's Guma skirting alongside the fight. And the fact that Faker, even though BDD got his ultimate off, hit him with the stun. So he didn't actually get to do the damage that he needed to, as the double fake out from Doran. In the MasterCard prize at the moment of the game, Ocean Soul secured for T1.
Plus, in the lead up to that fight, Faker was kiting so well with the Anivia, and there was a moment where the Mordekaiser was trying to pull him in, but the Trundle Pillar also bumped him out as well. I mean, the annoyance of the late game Anivia, the kiting here that he's able to pull off, really created so much space.
And T1 seemed to perfectly understand their strengths in comparison to KT's weaknesses. We've mentioned it countless times. We saw it in draft, and we've seen it be the bane of KT this entire game. They do not have good tools to force picks. So T1 get to stay in these fights at 20% health, 30% health, because once they see that pillar go down, they know there's no way anyone else is getting on top of them in the back line. Now, Soul in their favor, Flowers in their favor, 5K gold lead, and they're set up to take the first Baron of the game.
It's again costly when it comes to summoners for KT. And T1 call the T1 Baron. Gold lead's there, Ocean Soul is theirs. And KT, we'll see if they can make something happen.
Owner and T1 have secured every single objective this game. Cuz moving in, but zoned away by the Storm from the side of the team. Berserk now onto Cuz, has to ulti. Owner using an ulti of his own just to try and disengage. Doran, meanwhile, in the mid lane, happy to just continue fighting. Perfect going into the back line. Looking to get taken down by Faker. He's in the death realm, but Faker's happy with the 1v1. Just in time, he gets out, and Doran is there to seal the deal on the kill. KT desperate to get anything. They've already lost their top laner. The game rapidly slipping away.
They're trying their best to not let this game go to 5 as Doran still searching.
No flash for BDD, that crucial piece of CC and exhaust there. But Faker just waiting in the darkness. Guma stacking up the spears, the wall to zone KT away. Flash not there for Cuz either. BDD off on the side is going to use the ultimate. W in from Peter does absolutely nothing. T1, they see a vulnerable opponent. They know what they can do as they start to rip them to shreds. KT is not going to take a Baron. T1 reminding us why they are here, what they can do in a world final.
And T1 ensure that we are going the distance. We are getting our full value out of this series as KT just cannot close the gap to T1's backline.
The turn off of Baron to grab the kills, and now they will secure the objective. Here's another look at it. So Doran had just body slammed at BDD, and BDD used Cassiopeia ultimate. The rest of them can then chase through the river here. As you see, even with the Tahm Kench trying to eat him up, Doctum still has nowhere to go.
The KT feel forced into trying to contest, know that if Baron goes down, game is as good as lost. And Peter, it's not an enviable job. You're trying to play engage Kench, and I've seen a single man do that well, and he's on the opposite side of the rift. We knew it was a gamble, and that plus the blind Cassio, I think, really getting punished so nicely by T1 in this game.
Yeah, and the top lane difference as well. The Mordekaiser has not found a lot of value. He's getting kited a lot, and hasn't had very high value ultimates either. So we'll see as we progress in this series, if we progress, because T1 still have not done it yet. They've got the Dragon Soul and a 9,000 gold lead though, so they definitely should be able to.
20 pedal lead, they have Grubs. We haven't taken a turret yet, Kobe.
They got more items, they got more money. Yeah. It's looking like a hard road for the side of KT. And now,
but it's good news for us.
When a comeback happens, if KT can make it happen, then it's something to be considered. Maybe a miracle flash, but it will take that miracle. And for KT, it's so important not to lose sight of the bigger picture. This is a game you could afford to lose because of what you won earlier. It might come down to a best of one, but you need to be at your best form for that matchup because this game is looking done and dusted. Owner pushing in the mid lane. KT can't really afford to split as that tower falls. The threat of T1 diving into their backline, a very real threat.
BDD found a big play on his Yone in game 1 against Gen G to find a miraculous comeback, but this game feels so much more dire. about 35 seconds till we see that Elder come up. I don't even know if T1 really wants to wait for it. With 2 inhibitors, they can just decide to back off. No pressure on them.
Owner waiting, hoping to catch out a member of KT, over eager, knowing how important it is for them to stop the Soul from going down. 20 seconds, a TP into the mid lane. Maybe going to catch out Gumayushi here. But it's perfect. Again, this is the problem. No matter who TP's in, it's so effortless for T1 to just walk away.
Yeah, perfect. Guma is 2 levels up on the top laner.
Cuz caught out, isolated, immediate subjugate to try and stay standing, forced to flash back. BDD in the darkness! 3-man! But it's Doran to try to turn it right back! The ulti is decent, Carry wants to turn it back with the hostile takeover. The gold deficit is just too massive. Even a miracle, even an incredible angle was not enough in the face of this T1 lineup. The triple, the quadra, T1 bringing us to silver scrapes.
Guma lives the engage, and T1's hopes live in the grand finals.
And the telecom war has never been this insane! World's Finals, Game 5!
Game 5 là đẹp.
A back and forth, absolute dominance in Game 4, though. The story for T1 as we get ready for Game 5. Let's send it back over to the analyst desk.
They're on it again, Dracos. That's what's happening. I cannot believe what's happening in front of my eyes. The fact that at every single objective, they looked like they could lose the game, but somehow they secure it and somehow they stay ahead despite everything KT threw at them.
I can absolutely believe it because I've seen this happen at Worlds several times and I've seen it happen to my team so many times back in the LCK and in OGN Champions. I don't think it was louder in this building than when Faker absolutely popped off on Anivia and they showed the damage numbers at 8,568. This entire place was cheering just for that graphic alone.
We see Koma there. He's deep in thought. He, of course, has said before that 2017 is something I regret, right? Let's look at this.
I mean, the players have got to stay locked in. We see them reviewing in that moment, and here is one of those critical plays. Carrier pops out of the brush, catches Docdom, and even with Peter there to save him initially, that is kind of the fight, it felt like, decided in a lot of ways.
It was so many tense fights that T1 just kept getting the better of KT in. So many of these moments, if they just swung slightly the way of KT, maybe things could have been different, but under this situation, to be down against KT, who's at match point, T1 are just too good.
It's crazy.
At playing from this pressure.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me that happened in this early game is that whenever T1 looked like they were in a bad spot, even when KT was coming out ahead in the fight, T1 had all of the objectives.
Yeah.
They were chilling until their Anivia just comes online and destroys absolutely everyone. And again, I cannot understate how strong of a pick Anivia was for Faker in this draft against what KT had drafted.
It was very, very good. I asked for like a supercut of all the objectives just because we talked so much about Guma making kind of those mistakes in the game before that, right? And how at this level that does happen. But how does this happen every single time? Is that plot armor?
I mean, it's kind of crazy. It just feels like they're able to step up in these big moments. I think Cuz maybe just barely didn't have his smite,
Yeah.
didn't quite get it off. It was at 619. Owner flashes in, auto smite, steals it away. They had so many opportunities where you think, okay, they're finally going to get it. Owner gets in again and steals it. The Soul fight was actually Doran securing it, where Doran went off in this next fight, Vetty.
It was really important for certain players to step up, and given that this series has been the Cuz show, Owner couldn't have picked a better time to show up in this series. Fantastic play around the objectives, and Doran, as you were saying, Azel, his scoreline was not impressive, but the impact that he had in so many of these team fights, like, it was truly phenomenal.
It was, and I have to shout out BDD as well, right? Because he gets, just like on the Syndra, right? He gets a lot of four-man stuns. He gets in there with the Casio. He can turn the fight, but you just see at some point that with all the objectives that T1 had and the fact that they were up on the forefront, right? And they have the confidence makes that they just run this one home.
Absolutely, and I mean, I think they're going to be regretting giving that man Anivia.
Yeah.
Because Faker, it seemed like he played way better than he did last time on the pick, but also, we were talking about it in draft, Eddie and I were talking through, hey, if you're going to blind Casio, you really do need to ban the Anivia. Instead, they elected to take away the Galio and the Hwei, which are comfort picks for Faker. With Faker, there's always going to be something up, but man, Anivia was crazy in this game.
And while we look at the faces of T1, focused, calm, getting ready for the next game, we know that this is a situation where they've been in multiple times before, even just last year against BLG. For KT, I can't imagine the pressure that they must feel, the stress, given that you could be a single game away from lifting a World's Trophy, or it could be done and dusted just like that.
I mean, it's basically going to be the best moment of your life or the worst moment of your life, right? And it's coming in 30 minutes. And we heard interviews from both of the bot laners from T1 where they're talking about the advantage that they have is the experience.
Yeah.
They have been here before. Carrie said, I wanted it too much. I was dying to get it. And I think KT is going to be as well.
Yes, they are absolutely dying to get it. We'll get some time to talk on the other end of the break about this man, Emily, but also about the chances of KT. We'll be right back before Game 5.
The fight just continues to go. 6K getting lower. Doctum trying to get a bit of poke. Hops will take over connecting. They don't have a cleanse. Devour from Peter is good, but it might not matter. Cuz continuing to move in. BDD waiting over the wall. The ulti is there, but they don't need to face him yet. The turn on the Faker isn't enough. 3K. Cuz in the pit. At the end of the day, it does not matter because it is Doran to get the soul. KT might be able to get the fight, but there's too many members of T1 standing. Ocean Soul to T1 as everybody on KT falls.
Whatever you drive, however you drive, AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection.
How could it end any other way than a Game 5 in this telecom war for the ages between KT and T1 with their eyes set on the Summoners Cup? We have been blessed with the series so far, but now comes, Azael, the most important game of KT's career.
Absolutely. I mean, you can really say for a lot of these players, their entire life has built to this one moment. there's so much pressure on being able to perform in this moment. This is one of those things where you are going to be thinking about this as I said before, the best moment of your life or the worst moment of your life. And it all comes down to how you perform in this next game.
And that's why I really did like what BDD said to Cuz, right? Where he was like, it's just one more match. That's what it has to be for them. They have to be able to shrug off the pressure and play like it's just one more match, as we see their friendship going back all the way to 2017 Longzhou Gaming when they first started playing together. And the other person who's been here is Score. I don't know if that was necessarily the worst day of his life. Maybe it was the 2 HP Baron fiasco against Rock's Tigers. But as the coach of this KT roster, I think they should also be looking to him, who was on the 2018 team.
I mean, he's quoted this moment personally versus IG, who would go on to win the cup, as where they left it all on the Rift and they didn't do enough. And that's what we saw that he tried to instill into this roster. But again, this is when all the floodlights are on, right? This is when you've had time to think about it. And you know it's only one game. Only the best survive that.
And if you want to look at some history, across the 9 full 5 games that these two organizations have had, it's 6 to T1 in Game 5s and 3 to KT. The odds favor T1, as has been their history. But again, every time we have to mention that it is the magic of worlds that we love to watch. And on this day, history will be made, whether it is the three-peat for T1 or whether it is KT who is able to upset the dominant giants.
And BDD, who was in our featured matchup today versus Faker, how could he not be? And we started off the show by talking about the eras from Faker, right? And we have here his rookie era. I also want to say we have the actual final. But the two that are most important currently are these two, Azael and Fetty. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's the question of, is it that heartbreaking moment for Faker, being distraught after having lost the finals, he thought he was going to be able to take down. To me, this defined him because it showed how much of a competitor he is. Even though he had won so many world championships, you still got this kind of a reaction from him when he finally fell.
But the beauty of modern day Faker is that not only has he found a way to, I mean, people will argue that back then, back in 2015, 2016, this was his prime. But this feels like T1's prime, the era of T1. And today we could witness him doing what he couldn't do in the past with these players, marking his mark on history once again.
Do you see it? The little Easter egg, it has 6 stars on the bottom for if it does come true. And let's just stand still with this for a second, right? When you talk about KT being almost at the top of the mountain and just needing to bring it home, Faker is on the other side. And often when we talk about Faker, we're not mentioning all the rest, but it's also so important for them, and they've done it 2 times before. But who hasn't, Azael?
Doran has not done it. He is not a world champion. As I said at the start of the day, I feel like his legacy is the most impacted out of anyone on T1 by far. If he wins here, he can push aside all this narratives about him being an international choker, about him not being able to rise to the moment. And if he loses, I think people are still going to be casting aspersions on just how good he has been.
Yeah, because he has been fantastic in this series. We talked about it in the Gragas game. We've talked about it in this series, how much of an impact that he has consistently tried to have. And I think he deserves such a massive shout out for his
God. Imagine walking back on stage and seeing this Emily, KT, looking at the cup thinking it's now or never.
Yeah, as we see everyone walking back on stage, both teams look pretty relaxed. That's good, right? Good sign. But that man, Doran, I think encapsulates what has made both of these teams, has brought them here, right? Because it's not that they haven't made mistakes. Doran, I feel like, has even made mistakes in this series, but then has overcome them to have fantastic plays, helping bring this to a Game 5.
And I mean, we talked so much about T1 and rising to the occasion, but we also have to give that credit to KT in this series, because I think so many teams would fall apart with the amount of pressure that has been put on them when things have gone wrong. But KT has consistently played towards their rain conditions, played confidently, even down 12K in a soul. You see BDD flashing over the wall on Cassio, looking for that moment. And they have not shied away from the bright lights of the World Finals. I think we're going to be in for an incredible Game 5.
KT are the almost men of the LCK. They've almost had their dynasties. They've almost been the best team in the world, but they've never been able to prove it. Today, they've demonstrated that they, at the very least, stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest that we have in our esports, but they can do what KT have never been able to do before. And to do it against T1 would be incredible.
Would be incredible, and is also the most difficult task that can be laid upon your shoulders if you are KT. Not just for the fans that maybe have become a fan of them during this tournament because of what they've shown, but so many, like the one here next to me and the one I can see there, Lore, who have followed this team for so long, for so many years, for so many heartbreaks, for reverse sweeps. You can undo it all for all of those fans. But on the other side stands T1 and stands Faker. This isn't their first rodeo. They've done this a couple of times already. And in Game 5s, they know exactly what it takes to win that Summoners Cup. Will it be BDD with his first after a life of longing for the Summoners Cup? Or will it be Faker's 6th trophy? Back to you.
A damn good question, and it's important to remember that this World Final is unique. It is the first World Final with Fearless Draft. This might be the hardest Game 5 we've ever seen. There's never been a World Final with more emphasis on diverse champion pools, on mastery, on adaptability. You cannot fall back on meta staples or comfort picks. This is where you have to put everything on the table as we get ready for Game 5 pick and bans.
This is also where you could maybe see teams take big gambles. We've seen teams try to throw off with KT picking blue side despite being in Game 5 of Fearless. Maybe this is the game where we leave open things like the Azir, which have basically been permanent.
Do not.
Well, I mean, I think KT should. They're on blue side.
You got too excited about Game 5 blind pick. No, certain things still have to be banned. We enter powered by Omen and HyperX. Draven banned away, the Bard banned away, Azir, no surprise to follow. 40 champions off the board, 6 more in this first phase.
But I love the discussion, the topic of Fearless, because we have seen people, Owner, literally first-timing champions on stage here, asking their coach, asking Faker, what is the clear? What do the abilities do on the champion? So Game 5 here, World Grand Finals, elimination obviously on the line for each.
And so often, in domestic leagues, Game 5 of Fearless has meant scaling. Champions like Ornn rising to the forefront, knowing that it can come down to that backline hyper carry, making all the difference. So KT wisely eliminated. A third ban targeted at BDD. He's not allowed to play a single one of these champions, but what else does he have left in the pool?
Akali, Aurora, LeBlanc. Okay, Ziggs is flexible. That could be a flex pick, but we assume it's Doc Dumps.
Most likely going to Duck Dom here. Makes me wonder whether we're going to see some Maokai 80 or Ivern 80 mid shenanigans here from KT. Because normally what I'd be thinking about is BDD's Zoe. Has been one of his most iconic picks. Again, he almost dragged his team to a World Finals 4 years ago. Couldn't make it then. And now finds himself on the precipice of winning it all.
And pairing it with the Ziggs, the classic for them, the sleepy bomb bubble.
Was that fun to play into as the Pantheon gonna get picked up here for Owner? We're looking at things like what, like Nefiri, because I do think if you go Ziggs, you need a big AD threat. Kiana could be another.
Zed even?
Yeah. I mean,
until it got more Zed.
Oh. The Galio, of course.
Faker's Galio!
Paired alongside the Pantheon. The potential, the global map mobility, a single member of KT. If they find themselves not up to snuff, if they overstay for one wave, they will be dismantled by T1. Now though, the option on the opposite side, KT taking their time. The Yorick, a powerful blind, dropped in prio a lot this tournament compared to his regional playoff dominance, but here in Game 5, it gives an angle for Perfect to really make the story about him.
Turrets tremble at the side of Ziggs and Yorick picked up together. And there is a fave being put in Cuz and BDD, their champion pool, as most likely top and bot lane are secured. Cuz and BDD keep hitting what they'll be playing.
So he could do the Cho'Gath into the Yorick and chomp the Maiden. Or they could drop Doran's pick if they don't feel that invested in that particular counter.
Heavy debate. Every choice could be the one that costs you. But here we go. Game 5. Finals, it's the Camille for Doran.
The Camille Galio we were looking for in the previous game finds itself in game number 5. The crazy pick potential that T1 have drafted here.
And I can only imagine that Doc Dom is like, why did we have Kench for this moment? As the amount of dive that's going to be there, going to be a big issue. And again, I'm looking at Cuz, I'm looking at BDD, I'm looking towards things like Zoe, like Vhagar, which is a classic pick. BDD has pulled out many a time. Not in recent times, but there is a lot of short range on T1. They're basically committed. I'm wondering if T1 want to go towards Jinx. That has been something that in Game 5 Fearless we've seen. It's the range and the ability to get excited. Gets banned away.
Despite the skepticism of Gumayushi's ability, KT will ban it because they recognize the potential for that champion to wreak havoc with this incredible dive frontline.
Yeah, full dive comp makes sense here.
Now taking away tanky options in the jungle.
So
Anything that could shut it down.
If they still wanted a tank in the jungle, it would be Sejuani, kind of forcing them in that direction if they wanted it.
I'm still looking at that Neferi or Cuz on something that can have early impact. The Jhin actually going to be the pick away, or the ban rather, not the Jinx. And T1 have had some incredible success on Jhin comps. This comp does really lean itself as, oh, MF! That's a gamble!
Gumayushi taking a back step, just needs a lane dominant champion. It's not about him on a Jinx or a hyper carry. He's there to follow up on the wombo combo set up by his teammates.
Exactly. They have a lot of CC to lock someone down for the bullet time. And you can transition them into mid-wave so that you can make use of your split push and your globals here as well. So Misfortune on the Bloodthirster spike, put her over towards mid, rotate those Camille and Galio side lane pressures out to the other sides, and there's the Sejuani.
And
as I mentioned,
Sejuani, one of Cuz, his all-time favorites. In 2023, KT, a team that had so much dominance, and I love it into Galio especially, so much dominance, and it was on Viego and it wasn't Sejuani's PDD. I want to highlight, Tristana is able to buffer away from the Camille taunt, or from the Galio taunt. You're able to also shoot Camille out. Oh my god! The BDD Smolder, he's bringing it back!
Scaling seems to be the answer for the side of KT in the face of countless dive options for T1. But this is a bold bet. T1, if they pull ahead like they did in Game 4, are set to take over the entire map with this composition. Keria, the final counter pick. The champion pool we know is deep.
Just need more engage. You just need more engage with this dive comp. Grab the ultimate here. And the question is, yeah, Smolder could be a good lane into the Galio, but can you survive later? With all of this T1 dive looking for you, a Game 5 Faker Galio.
I do really like it when, you know, there are two extremely clear game plans here. On one end, we have a comp that can split push, that can endlessly wave clear, and it's playing for the big spikes on Ziggs and Smolder. The pressure coming from Sejuani, from Yorick, from Sejuani, from Yorick, from the Nautilus early. And then on the other end, it's a wombo combo comp. You're just pressing your buttons. Everyone goes in. You layer that MF ult on top, and any problem that you have will disappear in seconds.
Remember that the performance also crucial. If a single member on KT or T1 misstep, despite the confidence we've earned in both these teams over T1's countless victories over KT's performance in dire situations, they're underestimated. Every single player needs to be on point in this Game 5, or either of these crafted game plans could fall apart in the blink of an eye.
It all comes down to one final game of League of Legends in 2025 here in Chengdu. BDD was asked in the interview after they upset Gen G, what would you tell future BDD 1 week from now? And I thought his answer was so eloquent. He said, just do what you normally do. And now he just has to do it for one more game.
Set up in the mid lane matchup, range versus melee. So much time for Smolder to scale for free. Chengdu erupting in cheers in the final game. Level 1 setups, keeping an eye out for any creative options, but both sides just drawing lines of scrimmage. respecting each other's sides of the jungle. Neither side wants to be the team to give up a first blood or offer any early mistakes to the opposition.
One thing I do want to highlight for KT specifically is the value of Mercs. Looking at the CC that's available on T1, Taunts, Leona, even the Owner's W, definitely going to get a good amount of value from that, as we do have a little bit of pressure being put out here by Dom as he makes his way down. Low auto, but nothing too crazy here in the level 1.
And of course, for a lot of this series, it's been about bot priority, and it's been about the junglers. We take a look at how Cuz and Owner have performed. Last game, no doubt, a masterclass from Owner, but here, comfort for Cuz. Comes to Jwani, a proactive option for Owner. We know what he can do with those semi-globals. Eyes are on them to make these early game plays, even as we see the laning phase begin.
Can we add Smite's hit to that list of stats as well?
I don't know. I think one person might be a little bit more favored, although credit to Cuz and the Mundo Cleaver steal is Perfect and Doran just trading blows.
Camille, one of those champions that I think has a really funny power curve, like level 1, level 2, level 3, you're feeling great. First base, not too bad, and then you're basically just praying until you hit your Triforce. As Carrier goes in.
Takes a tower shot. Just trying to zone away, make the most of that level 2 power spike. Knockdown and Peter waiting to catch the wave.
And BDD is going to be trying his best to both farm as many stacks as possible and keep this Galio lane locked. If Galio isn't able to make impact in sides, especially in the early game, it's going to make it a lot harder for T1 to find plays. As, oh, look at Owner. He's diverted his pathing. He's looking for top. That's a classic.
Perfect. Needs to back up. Level 3. Getting lower and lower. Last right's offering a bit of healing. The tactical sweep there from Doran to slow him down. Owner all but certain to make this one come through. First blood for T1. Doran's Camille takes it.
The 3-camp gank from Owner. The price you pay is usually counter jungle, and since Faker is getting pushed in, since the Smolder has priority, it does allow Cuz to exact that price.
TP back to the lane. Luckily for Perfect, Doran hasn't had a chance to spend that gold yet, so we'll still need to play with a little bit of respect.
And Perfect has had such an incredible tournament, but when the criticism towards him was the heaviest was when he fell behind early. It's been a big test for him to try and not fall deeper down the hole once it started. Many an LCK team in playoffs throughout the last 2 years have made that their goal, and this is his biggest test yet in the final game here at Worlds.
And it's a very worthwhile investment from Owner to do the top side 3-camp into gank, sacrifice his blue buff, because if you look at the comps overall, getting the Camille ahead is essential for this team, for the ability to play your side lanes later, for the ability for Doran to dive in on his Camille, Hextech Ultimatum into Galio Ultimate lockdown. The possibilities here are critical for T1 and Owner back on the warpath.
Owner recognizes what he needs to do. It's snowball. Backstep good from BDD. Faker tried to go for the angle, the flash, the Justice Punch, hoping it would carry him back just far enough to instantly connect the knockup.
A swing and a miss from the GOAT.
Faker no coward. If you go for the reverse punch, the time to respond is the shortest. But BDD doesn't even have to use flash himself, just walks it off, and this means that Faker is now in an even deeper hole because BDD actually having so much Fred here in mid.
Yeah, it's a critical breakpoint because Galio lane does really revolve around, do I have jungle pressure to put threat behind when I move up in lane and try and taunt you? And now you don't have that pressure at all.
Q forward, sidestep, the taunt, Faker turning it back, BDD, one more auto, the 1-for-1!
But BDD, no hesitation, must have known that that was gonna kill him.
Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Doran locked down with the Pandas, Cuz on the way up.
Oh, just barely.
Flail. Doran barely able to walk away.
They didn't want to use the flash knowing that Doran's still at his. But we are getting explosive here. No slow early game in this game 5.
And BDD, he goes for that dive. You know, he does invest his flash. So that is something critical to look at. Owner is back and ganking again.
Perfect needs to get out. Has the flash available, but Doran just going to immediately flash follow. The adaptive defensive, the hook shot still there. The Q back for a bit of healing, but it's not enough.
Beautifully played, no hesitation. Owner flashes in so that Doran can then also close the distance, flash into melee range, and save the hook shot for the answer flash from Perfect, securing the kill.
And this is something that, again, we've seen KT struggle with. We've seen Perfect struggle with Yorick. He just goes for the call, and his team at least will be able to find on the cross map the ability to get this dragon, but he needs to stem the bleeding, because if Doran gets out of control, this game becomes nigh unplayable for KT.
That it does, especially for BDD, the strongest point on the team currently. Even as we see gold leads get bigger for Owner and Doran, the Camille start to take over. Perfect needs to stem the bleeding. You highlighted it so well. It's one of the few things that we haven't seen.
Unplayable for KT.
That it does, especially for BDD, the strongest point on the team currently, even as we see gold leads get bigger for Owner and Doran. The Camille start to take over. Perfect needs to stem the bleeding. You highlighted it so well. It's one of the few things that we haven't seen from him yet this tournament. Now the hook shot wall dive is there. Dom flashing away, but Owner's on the way as well. Ulti there, that's the Hextech ultimatum. Dom likely to escape, but it looks like Peter will be sacrificed in return. The hook shot, making it out. Then play back to the tower, but not Carrier's life. It's a 1-for-1, no! The minions slinking out. Carrier walks away.
Out of the lane swap, T1 find the trailing play here. Dom and Peter could not really push the wave in, and so T1 pounce. And that's the
Target comment!
He snipes him, and that salvages the play.
From downtown, Doctum on the Ziggs finds the play to salvage it for KT in the final game. As T1 were building a gold lead, he chops it back down a little bit.
And it's again the power of Pantheon, Leona, Camille. If you're slightly too far up in the lane, you will just get 100 to 0.
Area. They spell this out. Owner waiting off to the side. Cuz level 6. Critically, Spike comes through. Cuz immediately going to retreat. Red buff steal, a nice little advantage for the side of KT.
And they have to be careful there, because there is obviously the possibility of Faker going for an ultimate there, so he can't really commit to the fight. BDD can damage him, but he cannot stop that ult. Doesn't have the tools available. And we do see the gold lead for Doran still there. Gold lead for Owner as well, and the resilience of KT. As we have seen these early games swing in the last 2 games. First couple of games it was in their favor. This time around it's T1.
Yeah, Owner has been on a mission, creating so much with this Pantheon. Cuz though, has level 6 on the Sejuani, so the possibilities of your plays become that much greater. He starts out the grubs with the confidence. BDD does have priority of mid, and it's just going to be the one for now.
KT have to be so respectful of the sheer quantity of CC on the side of T1. Also, all of their burst damage so heavily telegraphed makes it very easy for Doran with the ultimate, for Owner with the Aegis Assault, to just mitigate all of that burst and turn a fight right back around.
There's no mercs yet for KT. What I do love is that often in a Game 5 in Fearless, we end up with comps that don't have engage. This is kind of the opposite. Both teams have amazing hard engage. We have Nautilus on one side, with Sejuani to back it up, then the Camille Galio,
Baker.
Leona combo is
moving down, that's the combo, locks him in the ultimatum, finds the damage, the taunt is there, and Doran takes another.
Baker Galio in Game 5 World Finals here does make the move for the guaranteed play. These 2 ultimates, when they are available, you know T1 can look for it. It does allow, of course, the push in. You see the mini-map, BDD shoved in the wave, but they're not going to get much out of it.
It's just not going to compare, right? Look at Perfect State. I wouldn't be surprised if Doran with that is going to be at least close to his Triforce, sitting on a 1k gold lead, and that is such an insane spike, particularly when you're playing in like a Triforce versus Triforce matchup, right? Doesn't quite have it yet. But Perfect, he needs to find a way to make an impact, because he is currently just fodder for T1.
That he is. Luckily for him, the Trinity Force completion does not come through for Doran, because very rapidly Doran is going to be a problem not just for Perfect in the isolated 1v1, but for BDD, for Doctom, as we get ready for these bigger fights, and that is really going to be the break point that KT are terrified of.
Yeah, the game looks so hard to play for those KT carries that you mentioned. So many forms of dive from T1 will be looking to take them out.
And it's the entirety of T1 also playing, right? This isn't Perfect getting 1v1, it's 1 gang from Owner, 2 gang from Owner, gang from Faker as well. And you see Perfect, this lane state just kind of disastrous. Not really going to be able to make anything happen there, and instead just paths top. But that means that this gold lead is going to remain the way it is, and there it is for Doran. Triforce in the pocket, TP used.
Sundered Sky as well. 2 incredible power spikes for the coming objectives. 30 seconds until Chemtech Drake spawns. It won't be a soul of Mountain or Chemtech. Very likely to be critical for either team to deny this soul. And at this point, Getting harder and harder for KT to find angles. They have to give up a little bit of space, but at least they have their first items completed. Heartsteel for Cuz, the Essence Reaver, the Luden's Companion.
Trinity Force for Doran, though. That is very painful. The Q2 is really going to hurt. Let's see if they can make a play, though. Away from the top lane is not that bad for KT.
Peter, ready to input buffer on the hook.
Look at Doran, though. He's moving down. If Doran comes, that's the over 1,000 gold lead coming over.
Shutdowns on Doran and Owner, just showing us where all of the money is for the side of T1. 1,000 individual gold lead over Perfect. BDD zoning, poking while he can, dodges out on the tactical sweep, but uses the flap, so needs to be careful for at least a few more seconds.
That's Drake just gone.
Yeah, KT.
Got the first one, not the second one, as T1 picks this one up. And the one-item spike for T1 is frankly disgusting. Also want to highlight, Faker is one of the few Gallios that we've seen, at least in the SK, consistently do this. He just builds full damage, right? We've seen him both go for like a more hybrid build where you go for Zhonya's and remain utility, but he is not afraid to just full send it, and it does make the itemization harder, right? If he goes for tank, then you could stack a lot of armor, can make actually finding the angles onto this KT backline a little bit more tough, as it's Cloud Soul, which feels apt for a LCK final Game 5. I don't think we've gotten one yet this series.
Doran again, finding these angles. The good news for Perfect is Yorick's power in the 1v1 means he can at least survive a little bit here in what should be a very one-sided matchup. But obviously with Owner poking his head around on the top side of the map, he's still very vulnerable.
Yeah, you have to be cognizant of this Pantheon ultimate at all times. Thankfully for KT, they still have their tower standing for now. But for how much longer will that be true? T1 make a pretty heavy movement into the jungle. Look at the river pings. Nobody actually goes for the engage, though, and the crab will be secured by KT.
Yep, good shadow from Owner, looking for a potential angle of attack there on the top side, looking to put Perfect even further behind, but Doc Dom, of course, with access to that Mega Inferno Bomb, can immediately clear the wave and make that a lot more of a tricky proposition. T1 don't need to take any risks. They've got a gold lead, they've got a dive comp that's already accelerated.
And for Perfect, like you can't fix your wave. There's a Camille, you know there's a Leona nearby, and there's Pantheon with ult as well. So unless KT sends someone up, and Cuz thus far hasn't found impact in this game, not a Heartsteel stack to be found. There is obviously the promised land, right, where KT is going to try and get to the point where BDD is his stacks, Doc Dom is at his third item, and Yorick is one of those champions that I think always will get value if you get a little bit of time alone inside, but T1, I don't think they're going to just let them get to that point. You're going to have to fight tooth and nail.
And I foresee a future where the value of Yorick gets given over in gold to T1 if he's out there in the side lane.
Yep.
They very well could just pick it up. Again, the real interesting thing is going to see when these side lane turrets do end up going down, if they can still remain safe then, if they can actually still play the map then. Because currently, we have plenty of defenses to work with, so we can continue to farm here, trading farm back and forth, and it's going to be about the engage. But as you open up the map, that's when the true plays begin.
Looking.
Cuz looking for the ultimate. Gumiushi forced to backstab, flashing away from Peter's hook. Small advantage to the side of KT. But ultimately, KT doing what they can with the Ziggs to hold control of the mid lane. Do not want to concede that priority as Carrier just continues to lay down vision for Doran on the top side.
BDD currently at 116 stacks. Want to get to that breakpoint of 225 as soon as humanly possible. Currently looking to be slightly behind the curve as
Doc Dom caught out, Zenith Blade there, the ulti just out of range! Crucially,
and the cancel there as well. Peter has his buddies back. Gets the ult onto Guma, but this might still be this Herald. Oh, perfect.
Doran on the way up. The Maiden summoned. Doran, though, he's got backup. Owner on the way in, locked once again in the ultimate of Doran. But Perfect living for an extra second. The Q2 coming through just in time. KT want to punish. They're a little bit too late.
Again, the Yorick is just food for T1. Guma's got to get out of there, though. He has his strut. Even though he doesn't have his flash, he can walk away. Again, it is just so hard to play side lanes, even with towers there. T1 can still force it and still find a pick. KT, the consolation prize will be the Rift Herald, though.
No one can really catch this wave, though. They don't want to use the Ziggs ult. It looks like BDD is going to make his way over now.
Plus, you're losing bottom side power there with Galio just up at the turret. Faker pushing on that bottom side tower with the power of the extra 2 Void Grubs. A little bit of extra damage, a few more minions.
The saving grace for KT is that they have gotten a dragon. That is often what can be the decider between Smolder hitting the 225, which thus far, Split 3 in Worlds has been at 22 minutes, 34 seconds on average.
Yep, well ahead of schedule. BDD still comfortably farming despite kind of the struggles of the team overall. Will be a major concern as we get later. As powerful as Smolder is, it's not really Smolder. You still need to be able to survive Doran's initial engage, survive Owner's initial engage, not get caught in those big taunts or wombo combos from Guma.
Yeah, the dream for this KT squad is to be able to poke with your Ziggs as well as your Smolder once you get to your rapid fire. But what counters poke? It is hard engaged. For Peter, though.
Aegis Assault still there. Flashback into the Blast Cone, going to keep Owner standing, but likely means KT will be able to secure the second objective here. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, it's push in favor of T1, and we talked about Ziggs destroying towers, but Doran, with this Trendy Force, also will just eat through that objective. KT splitting their focus. Is it going to cost them? Faker.
Second Drake is big.
Access to the ulti. T1 might just be a little bit late here. Cuz desperately needs to smite. Doesn't quite connect. Crucially, Dr. able to get out for a brief moment. BDD now trying to turn and fire back, but Faker is on the way. Ulti going in. Doran is down. BDD still standing. The exhaust managing to take him a little bit lower, but Gumayushi sits on the back line completely untouched. BDD finally able to start opening up as Owner gets one back in return. Perfect is here to keep his mid laner alive. And there you go. KT find an angle to keep it close.
That's 2 shutdowns for BDD. And they get the second dragon as well.
This dragon could get huge. The Rift Herald goes down mid immediately. That was just after a 2-for-2 trade, and the dragon already went to KT.
1.5k individual lead. KT do not want to stick around any longer.
And we want to highlight again, this is not the Smolder Revolt where you hit your stacks, that's it. You actually need your items. As we take another look, the attempted engage onto Dukdom doesn't quite pan out. Guma pulls the trigger too early, and look at that ult from Cuz. CC's the MF, and the damage isn't quite there.
And then, when the Galio ultimate finally does come in, BDD and Dukdom, they kite back here by the red buff. It's just that Owner goes in, he sees the angle to stun up Dukdom, and go for another 1-for-1 trade.
Herald also dropped over the wall, I believe, just to give a safe exit if needed. KT, again, the cold lead was starting to feel insurmountable, but they brought it closer. PDD, unfortunately for him, the reality after that fight is as well as he played, there is now a target on his head.
But yeah, I mean, fortunately for him, now he's also going to be way richer. So there's a target on your head. There's a wanted poster up for you. But you are rich. 2 items, and that rapid fire is what we were looking for. The poke breakpoint here for KT. They actually hit it fairly early. Being able to poke now with rapid fire, with the Ziggs, it puts even more pressure on T1 to engage. Normally, the counter to poke damage is hard engage, but you can't mess it up.
There's also Ziggs, who, as disengage goes, really, are even able to, I think that's what Dukdom tried to go for. You can interrupt the Pantheon like mid-jump, right? If you get the timing right. No defensive or no offensive satchels, I do hope, from Dukdom, because both him and BDD are going to be prime targets. Perfect. Just going to have to try his best to just have an impact in any way he can. As we do see, KT desperately want to hold on. With Otacon spawning, you want to hold on to his bot lane turret. Don't want to give that one up. And with the wave clear of BDD and Dukdom, they should be good to go.
Galio's roaming, be careful. This is 2-item Camille, 2-item Doran.
Guma as well.
Tension builds on both sides. The Otacon, the crucial objective. T1 hold on to a 2,500 gold lead, but an Otacon surely would push it over the top. TP into bottom lane from Dukdom. Has access to the ultimate. The flash is up for everybody on the side of KT except for Cuz.
They're going to send it. I feel like you kind of have to with the teleport being invested from Dukdom there. We'll see if they actually do want to make a real commitment. Could get some summoners out of T1, but it doesn't look like they want to take the gamble.
Perfect, also about to be taunted up. Has to be careful. They have so much damage here. Doran, of course, just reset the tower angle, but he is locked down for a damn long time. Doran, untouchable for a brief moment, but they managed to kill him. T1 fumble the play in the mid lane, and as he survives the dive. Mom called, but she will not connect.
The dark procession from Perfect, it got them so much, and now they're opening to get the tower, the extra gold as well. KT, they're striking back.
And it keeps the gold lead within touching distance. It further accelerates BDD. And this game 5 just keeps on delivering. Have to try their best, T1 does, to maintain this momentum, but they're not even close to a break point on the Dragons, as Kuma is just taking matters into his own hands.
DocDom, no ulti available, decent poke. Owner Faker here, the TP's used. T1 making the fast play happen. KT caught reeling too far behind on tempo. Doran might have fallen in the previous play, but he is still damn powerful. DocDom here. T1 pushing them back. It'll take a miracle for them to get this one out. Owner, Peter coming in for the lockup, but Owner manages to get the objective, the fight coming out. Fire rained over the wall by Gumayushi, and down goes Peter. BDD finally arrived. That's the ulti coming in the meantime. He needs a little bit more space. DocDom, BDD untouched, but the front line has fallen. BDD, CC'd, knocked into the sky, and right back into the grave. T1, get Otacon, and ace KT.
A triple kill for Guma and T1! Do it! They take over!
And that could very well be the nail in the coffin for the roller coaster, as Otacon goes the way of T1. KT overplay their hand, and the Dragon is going to follow suit.
Ultimately, you look back at this, an excellent window of opportunity recognized by T1, a team notorious for forcing early objectives. And it all falls apart for KT. The backline lives for far longer than expected, but T1 are just more powerful.
They kite back so effectively and then call for the re-engage after they already have the advantage. Owner ulting behind to make sure there's no escape for DocDom.
And there, it's the call from KT is to try their best and force a fight, because the resistances for T1 are shredded. But Peter just overextends, right? Just walks to his death. Then Cuz tries to hard force, and that desperation now feels apt. Because for KT, this is a almost 6K goal deficit, and you can hit the 225 on BDD, but that alone is not going to be enough anymore.
And good stuff from Guma, it has to be said. The Unara game was not good, but the bounce back here in this game 5, the bounce back in the Kalista game to really take over. This man, again, unfazed by the pressure placed upon him. 3,000 individual gold lead. He conceded his pick early. He was willing to see the Ziggs on the other side, and now the MF that he picked so late in the draft is doing so much work.
It was a bottom side play at the moment. Cuz was kind of pinging and looking for a possible play onto Faker, but Faker backs off. He has the sense. He's not going to become a liability. And it's T1 who start up the Otacon and try and draw KT into that fight. They kite back through the tri-bush very nicely. It's in these moments, these big moments, Game 5, all the pressure on, the entire world watching. And T1 claim a huge advantage in the game, but it's not over yet.
No, it's certainly not. No flash on Guma after the previous fight, no flash on Faker. Doran has access to his as well as the Hextech ultimatum. BDD completing that third item. 4 stacks away from that crucial 225 threshold. Behind schedule now from the tournament most impressive moments as he was delayed by T1.
And KT, the luxury is that they have Dragons, so they don't need to be forced into a fight. The unfortunate reality, though, is that in 20 seconds, T1 is going to start Baron. We all know it is inevitable at this point, and Shadow Flame's done for DocDom. Third item for BDD plus the breakpoint, but they're going to have to find a miracle fight to stay in this game, because if they lose, this one's over.
And the reason you start that Baron is to draw KT out in the open, so they can actually find the engage onto BDD. The hope there, he has no flash on Smolder. He may be the one with a gold lead. He may be the one with 3 items on KT, but T1 has so many weapons looking to kill that Smolder.
It's so difficult now for KT. Feels like they're forced on the back foot. If T1 don't overplay their hand, KT always forced to respond. T1 in touching distance. Once again, 2015, 2016, 2017, they were denying the three-peat from Faker. But now this lineup, with Doran subbing in this year, on the cusp of making history. And it's Doran again, who has been the center of attention in this crucial game, on the Camille. 3.5K individual lead, 7,000 gold for T1. The Baron started as expected. KT in dire straits. Faker brings it back, wants to turn with the taunt. Initial locket from Keria is good. Dockham laying down a bit of poke, and he's going to be able to satchel out, but an immediate flash follow coming in from Owner. T1 don't even need the objective. They're happy to keep pushing for a bit more. On the top side of the fight, they've isolated BDD. He's continuing to fight. He wants to turn it back. He gets the kill on Doran. Crucially, Faker falls. KT hold.
BDD, the heart of KT, is alive! The Smolder lives under the tower, but T1 are still pinging towards the objective.
There's no way with Smolder alive. I don't think you can get away with it. And yes, they get ducked on, but all that KT want to do is stall. Keria's engaged, doesn't hit the mark immediately, and Duckdom stalls for a good amount of time. Owner's able to take him down, but it's an overextension on the flip side.
Yeah, T1 are just too split. They go under tower here. Doran just barely cannot finish off BDD.
KT needed a miracle. T1 split their focus, split their attention, and it cost them dearly. It is again all eyes on BDD, because who else could it be? 3,000 individual gold lead, has crossed the stack threshold. He is the threat that T1 must reckon with in the fights to come, even with the massive lead they still hold.
And now he has Flash to play with, the ability to outplay.
And I don't want to be disingenuous. It has not been the story of this Worlds, but it has been the story of this year for KT. This gold graph right here is something that any KT fan has watched throughout, and when all is on the line, it might have to be BDD that carries them over again. I'm looking at Doran, he doesn't have Flash, but if he can get milled onto BDD, that could be enough to win the game. KT could choose not to fight here, but it looks like it's going to do so anyway.
T1. They need to have focus this time around.
Last fight,
they went for 2 angles at once, and they paid the price.
Flanks coming in. T1 entire topside missing Flash, that crucial cooldown, but their ultis will be there. 3 seconds on Doran. Gumayushi, the other player to keep your eye on as well. The ulti can do a lot of work. Doran going in, doesn't connect, hookshot, wall dive, immediately CC'd. Exhaust coming in as well. Combo over the top from Guma. Finds 2. Exhaust as Keria moves his way to the backline. Faker rains down from the sky. Locks up BDD and obliterates the hope for KT Rolster.
The bullet time will end the time of KT here at Worlds, as T1 will chase down Cuz and look for the Baron.
And BDD, on his shoulders, and that is too much weight for one man to bear. They find him with the engage. They take out the only important member on KT, as it's...
look at the setup there. The Leona ultimate nailing its target.
And then BDD gets found by Keria, locks him down, and that's Dragon. That's actually, they ran straight to Baron. I'm sure they got Dragon with that. They're not wasting any time here.
9,000 gold. See what they can do with the Red Bull Baron power play. KT, they dug deep on the top side, punished T1 for splitting their focus, but in that last fight you can see that even if the top side fumbles for a moment, Guma still demands that respect.
Gumayushi. What a game. What a series it has been. And T1 will clean up that Dragon as well, the leftovers.
Tasty snack for T1. For KT, the item finishes few and far between. A couple of components for Duckdom. But we're getting to the point where I don't even know if they have the damage, even if they're able to absorb that initial engage. I think BDD might be able to get his IE. T1 though, they're looking to secure their 3rd World Finals win in a row.
They don't want to give BDD the time to get that Infinity Edge. KT don't have the luxury of defensive items either for their key carries. Redemption, really all they have to protect Duckdom and BDD. Faker solo pushing in the mid lane. The tier 2 will fall. Bot lane inhibitor likely next. This Doran really cannot be contested by anything more than the entire force of KT.
And T1 just have so many forms of engage. Even with Doran getting stuffed in the last one, Keria finding those KT carries and allowing T1 to take them down. There are just too many weapons and the map is too open now. KT are boxed into their own territory.
A comeback at this stage in Game 5 of a World Finals would likely be the greatest we have ever seen in the history of the sport. 10,000 gold advantage for T1. They are on Soul Point. They are so far ahead in every measurable metric. But the execution from KT, the potential, the tiniest glimmer of hope still lives on as long as their Nexus stands.
And all's on the line. T1, they can smell the weakness. 11k gold now. The Baron siege continues. And they will not be denied unless KT pull out an absolute miracle. I think we're seeing Owner looking for an ult angle, sitting in that jungle, but even with the wave clear of Ziggs and Smolder, it's tough to hold on.
Doran looking to get things kicked off. Hookshot wall that brings him over. He's taking the tower already. Flash back to get away from Cuz's ultimate. And the ulti manages to connect from Dom. A big fumble. Not enough to get T1 back into full control of the game because there are no objectives on the map, but it will slow down the onslaught of T1. It will give KT a bigger glimmer of hope.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. KT, they buy some more time.
Will be the end for now of the push, but it doesn't make a dent. If they can get a team fight off that, bag themselves a bunch of shutdowns, it could have been something. At least they only lost a single inhib. That's something. And Cloud Soul going over makes the game very hard to play out, but that could have been, it could have been worse. You know, we're really, I'm really stretching it here, guys. I'm normally great at finding angles.
Doran's going on some fun journeys.
Yeah, you know, normally we talk about not getting excited for KT. We're way past that. They're in finals. But Doran might have to chill a little bit.
He's a player, though, that you have to love in these moments.
You do.
The Krug Lord. You have to embrace it. You have to laugh with him.
It's very true.
And at him.
And despite the fumbles, all of the fights that have gone well from the side of T1 have involved Doran in some way or another. Guma also the backup point. That MF ult, 4.5 items for Guma means it's still a terrifying threat. And KT will need to make a stand.
It's so hard, though, because, like, who do you actually focus? There's Faker, who has stopwatch. Galio is just naturally tanky, level 18 as well. It is just Guma, right? Like, that's the only one, but he has not been in a position for you to engage on.
You could engage on Doran, maybe.
Well, okay, in a scenario where Doran is with the rest of the team, I feel like you shouldn't be able to. Camille with hookshot and ult. I know what we've been witnessing.
100%
okay, but I mean,
value.
in a theoretical world where that doesn't happen.
True.
So TP ward there.
Push mid lane, well highlighted by our observers. Potential for a flank. Perfect in BDD as well as Dom do have access to that TP, although I imagine only Perfect will be looking to make the flank.
And I do seem to recall, I was in I cast a Ziggs game, I think this was Hanwha, and that one did go to 60 minutes. I'm just saying, we might only be halfway there. You know, we don't know. Is it likely? No. But it could happen again. But no, 2 times in a row.
Let's start the countdown now, shall we?
Yeah.
All right, 25 minutes away, 26 minutes away from a 60-minute game.
All they need is to get a, actually see the lines. So you steal with Dom's ult, the Baron. That gives you the stall. And then you flip Elder and you win.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, the good news for KT is, aside from that pipe dream, they do have Seekers on
Just
BDD.
optimistic.
Aside from that blinding optimism. But now they have to face check into the darkness. They see Dorn in the mid lane at the very least. They see Faker. But again, if they overcommit to this play, double TPs are there. Owner semi-global is there. They could just look to end. So Perfect has been called back as T1 looks set to get the soul.
And T1 also have the luxury. They could just look for the fight if they wanted to.
Owner takes the soul. Cuz stuck around a little bit too long, and now T1 empowered. Going to be that much faster, have that much more access to their ultimates. And I don't think there's any getting away from Faker, Dorn, or Owner now that they have a Cloud Soul empowering them.
We're about to know whether this series will continue, whether the 60-minute dream stays alive, because GA's there for Owner. Guma has his sums available. We're gonna need to see a beautiful engage as Dom just now hit his third item. It's BDD with a stopwatch and a dream, wanting to keep that goal of making the World's Finals win a reality, but I think you guys are justifiably calling me out. It still doesn't really feel that likely.
And yet it didn't feel likely before when T1 split their attention.
That's true.
BDD was able to find the kill. So it's not over till it's over. But now with the Baron spawning, relatively even setup, but again, it's the waves in favor of T1
Zolix
make this so
đứng
hard.
cạnh-
Is immediately
đứng
going to
cạnh
pick things
hai
off
AD
by going in
coi
on
mà.
Cuz, taking away the Frost Armor passive. Lockdown from Carrier is there. TP in from Doran as well. Ulti's going across the board. BDD caught off the side. A good flash to take him out, and Guma has to be careful, but he's so damn fast. Owner from BDD. He goes gold in an extra 2.5 seconds to consider what went wrong as T1 looks set to end it all.
They're going to finish the job. It is Doran and Peter left alone in the mid lane. And T1 will ace them.
T1 earning their legacy again and again and again. There can be no doubting it. 4 players on the Rift today making the impossible possible. Owner, Faker, Gumayushi, Carrier, and now Doran as well are world champions.
And the disbelief on his face. A teammate that so many have praised over the long years. Domestically, he's always been able to show it. As T1 find the free-peat.
An unrivaled dynasty here has just been made. The three-peat is real.
A team that when they found despair in 2022 against DRX, took it to heart and have come every single world back to the finals, back to this trophy. KT had an incredible run, but against T1, it just feels impossible. A team that even in the face of bad games, even in the face of match point after game 3, did not falter for even a moment. It's KT's run, it has to be respected. Hearts out now to the players on stage.
Huge respect. What a run this roster has had.
And here now we check out the trophy ceremony presented by Mercedes-Benz. For these players in front of this, and again, this is T1 to its core, right? There is no arena, there is no stadium where they do not feel at home.
Doran, you can see still, barely believes it. Faker keeps giving him the shoulder taps. As T1 shows us again and again and again, as you highlighted, Dracos, why this is the greatest team in the world.
Chengdu erupts. T1 wait a moment to lift the trophy together as 5. Doran, the latest addition to win his first title. The remaining 4, their 3rd consecutive. T1 world champions once again.
And they did it as the 4th seed again. They had to play in the play-ins, the newly created play-ins. Elimination right at the beginning of the tournament was faced.
Oh man, Doran lifting that trophy after all is said and done. As Doran is Owner is flexing. One-handed lift as the GOAT in the 2nd prime of his career. Does it again.
T1 seemingly making a science out of performing when it matters most. Regardless of the story of the LCK, of the regular seasons or playoffs, at Worlds, T1 always find their peak, always find their form, and now are embraced by the staff that has supported them for the entire year.
Coma, Tom, Mata, all coming in, hugging their players. And Coma, he's been there for so many, but you can see they still hit real good as he runs up to his team.
Wow, how long will this version last? How far can this core of players go?
And I mean, again, the series, the context of being at match point of one of the most dominant game fours we've seen into the game 5, where even when there were small fumbles, they got right back on course. T1 indomitable. And a reminder that this was the year where people started to doubt a little. 2 losses, a close best of 5 against AL. But T1 always find a way. Always find.
Ship 4 mạnh nhất lịch sử.
Let's send it down to the stage for an interview.
Nhà vô địch tuyệt đối của một bộ môn.
T1。首先，我们请到的是教练高马来到我的身边。在今天 ，T1 完成了英雄联盟历史上可以说是空前的壮举，也就是全球总决赛3连冠。他们时隔8年，谢谢所有的召唤师。时隔8年之后，T1再度挑战成功。作为带领队伍一路走到这里的人，他现在的心情应该也是感慨万千的。我们来问一下，此时此刻感受又是如何的呢？对，먼저 고마 감독님 우승 축하드립니다。
네, 감사합니다.
Congratulations.
感谢各位。那我们来问一下他这个问题。 오늘을 통해서 T1이 거의 전무후무한 성취를 달성하셨죠.
T1
바로 롤드컵 우승.
with this victory
다시 한번
has
축하드립니다.
achieved the world's three-peat. Congratulations one more time.
T1과 같이 뛰면서 여기까지 올라왔는데요. 기분이 어떻게 되실지.
How are you feeling right now?
일단 여기까지 오게 된 건 너무나 좋은 선수들과 스태프들 때문에 여기까지 왔다고 생각하고 있고요. 또 이런 인터뷰 자리까지 또 선수들과 코칭 스태프들이 만들어줘서 일단 선수들과 스태프들에게 너무 감사하고 고맙다는 마음이 가장 큰 것 같습니다. 그리고 정말 힘든 순간도 많았는데 마지막까지 선수들과 스태프들이 포기하지 않고 이렇게 최선을 다해줘서 너무 고맙습니다. 그리고 또 그렇게 될 수 있던 계기는 팬분들이 마지막까지 끝까지 저희 T1을 믿고 응원해 주셔서 이런 결과가 나왔다고 생각합니다. 다시 한번 저희 선수들, 스태프들, 팬분들에게 진심으로 감사드립니다.
好，首先是
I am
他觉得
very,
说
very
我们能够
grateful
走到
right
这里，
now.
站到这一方舞台，
It's
完完全
all
全是我
thanks
们有个最
to
棒的
our
选手、最棒的
excellent
教练团队、
players,
最好的
our
工作人
coaching
员。
staff,
所以
the
在这里
staff
非常
member
的
that
感
works
谢他
for
们
the
能够
team.
让我站在这里，
I'm
作为
able
其
to
中
do
一
this
员
interview
来
with
接受
them
采访。
because of their
其次
hard
也
work.
非
There were a
常
lot
感
of
谢
hard
在
moments
这一
throughout
路
the
并
year, but
不
we have
容
never
易、不
given up
顺
a
利的旅
single
程当中，
moment
一直都
because we
不
all
放弃的所有的选
tried
手
our
们
best until
他
the
们是
very
能够
end.
我
We
们
were
走到
able
今
to
天
make it
最重要的
happen.
原
Thank you
因，
so much
以
for
及
working so hard
还
for
有
this
最重要
moment.
的
And I want to add that it was possible because our
一
fans
定是一
believed
直
in
以
us
来
until
都
the
相
very
信我
last
们、
moment.
支持我
So
们的粉丝
for
们。
one more
你们
time,
的支
I
持
would
给
like
了
to
我
send
们
my
莫大的
gratitude
动力
over
与
to the
鼓励。
players,
所
the
以
staff
在这
members,
里
and to the
给我们
fans.
的选
Thank
手，
you
给我们
very
的教练
much.
组以及所有的 T1 的粉丝们，再一次表达衷心的谢意，谢谢。当然，每年其实到了世界赛，好像大家都会开始讨论一个问题：为什么世界赛的 T1 就是这么不一样？那在教练的眼中，是否真的存在这样的一个小小契机，让每年 T1 的世界赛就是这么的强势呢？ 저희가 항상 이런 토론을 듣는 것 같습니다.
We have this debate
롤드컵이
every
오면
year.
T1이 완전히
World's
달라진다.
T1 is a
확실히
complete different
감독님의
team.
눈에서는 이런
In your
계기나
perspective
이런 거
as a
경험이
head
실제로
coach,
있으신지
do you
들어보고
also
싶네요.
believe that T1 tends to change
확실히
when
좀 더
they're at
롤드컵
Worlds?
오면은 선수단 전체가 조금 더 집중력이 더 올라간다는 거를 좀 저도 느끼는 것 같긴 해요.
确实啊，确有
So
其事，
when
感觉好像
we're
到了
at
世界赛
Worlds,
的
I
时
can
候，
feel and
大
tell
家的一个
that
集中
every
力
player,
更加提
their
高了。这一
focus
点好像是
level
我每次
goes
到
even
世界赛的时
higher
候
and
明
up
显能够感觉
at
到的一点
Worlds.
那
The
现在马上
concentration
我们
is
在
even
舞台的
stronger.
另一侧也有夏安跟选手们站在了一起，来看看他有什么样的问题想跟大家一起来分享。好的，感谢欣然。全场让我们再次的呼喊 T1。所有的人都在高声呼喊着你们的名字，而在我们场馆所有的星光当中，我们的多兰选手也终于摘得了那颗属于自己的星星。 其实我觉得你们一路走来，真的是一步一步在书写着属于自己的故事，属于自己的传奇。我相信此刻的你应该是思绪万千。想问一下，这一次的全球总决赛胜利对你来讲意味着什么？而在此刻，有哪些思绪想和所有的朋友们分享呢？도란 선수 승리 축하드립니다.
Congratulations, Doran.
사실 진짜 한 걸음 한 걸음 자기만의 이야기를
Step
쓰고
by
계시네요.
step, you have
사실
been
도란
writing
선수도
your own
유니폼에서
story.
자기의 소중한 별을
And
따오고
now
이렇게
you have added
승리를
a precious
가져오셨습니다.
star
소감이
to the
남다를 것
T1 jersey, to
같은데
the
지금
T1
하고
logo.
싶은 말씀이 있으신지 또
What
이
does this
승리를
victory
도란
mean to
선수에게
you?
어떤
And
의미를
how are you
가지고
feeling
있으신지
right now?
묻겠습니다.
네. 일단 네, 데뷔 6년 만에 이렇게 꿈을 이루게 돼서 너무 행복하고 또 되게 좋은 기회 잘 잡은 것 같아서 너무 행복하고요.
让我再给他一点掌声，好不好？ 네, 괜찮아요. 천천히, 천천히.
이번 우승이 끝이 아닌 제 도란이란 드라마의 시작점이 되길 원하면서 승리를 만끽하겠습니다.
其实，作为职业
After
选手的我
since years
在
since my
6
debut,
年所有
I
的
have
职业生
finally
涯当中，
made my
对于
dream
我来
come
说，我觉
true.
得真的太幸福
I
了。
am very
在我看
happy
来，
that I
这是我的
managed
梦
to
想
grab
所
the
实现的瞬间。
opportunity
我
that
们能
was
够抓住
given
这
to
个机
me.
会，获得胜利，真的太开
But I
心，
want to
太开
say,
心了。
I
与此
hope
同
this
时，我
is
想说，
this
我相信
championship,
这
this
是所有
title
故事的
is
序
not
章
the
而已。
end of
在
my
未来，我们会
story.
共同努力，
With
为
this
我会拿下
championship,
更
I
多更
hope
多
the
的胜
story
利。
of
我
Doran,
也
the
相
Doran's
信
own
我们
drama
持续向这
starts
个目标
now.
不断地进发，
And
我们
with
也会
that
在
thing
未
in
来
mind,
越
I
来
hope
越好。
I can
好的，
enjoy
再次
every
的恭
moment
喜
of
多
this
兰选手
victory.
和队伍们一起，你们创造着属于自己的奇迹。那么与此同时，当然了，对于 T1 的队员们，他们一定有更多的话想和大家分享。接下来把时间交还给熙然。谢谢夏安。那现在来到我身边的是 T1 的中单选手 Faker。当然少不了，还是让他跟大家打个招呼。对。 우승 축하드립니다. 먼저 인사 한마디
Congratulations on the win. How do you feel? Would you like to say hi to the fans?
欢迎 Faker。其实，在决赛之前，很多人都在讨论本届全球总决赛对于 Faker 选手的价值与意义。是连续4年进军到全球总决赛的决赛，也是本人的第6座冠军的挑战机会，同时也是队伍可能完成全球总决赛3连冠的这样的一个契机。但这些都是我们的眼里所看到的一些数据。那想问问，在 Faker 选手眼里，他本人对于这一次的全球总决赛决赛是怎样看待的呢？ 결승 전에 사실 이번 결승은 여러 기록이 걸리고 있는 것 같습니다.
This finals had so many records on the line.
4
times back-to-back Worlds Finals for you, and 6th Summoner's Trophy for you, Faker, and 3-peat for T1.
저희 눈에서 보는 보람인데 페이커 선수에게는
Well, this is only based on our perspective. What was on the line for you?
경기가 너무 재밌어서 그런 부분에서 만족하고요. 그리고 KT가 워낙 또 오늘 잘하는 모습을 많이 보여줘가지고 좋은 경기를 했다는 게 중요하고 뭐 우승을 저희가 하기는 했지만 같이 경기해준 KT한테 저는 더 좀 감사함을 보내고 싶습니다.
因为其实比起所有的这些成就或者说记录的话，
Numbers were not on the line for me. I am very happy and satisfied with the fact that I was able to have a blast in the games today. And today, KT was able to put up a great performance, and together we were able to make such a great game, and that's what matters to me. We did win the title in the end, but I want to send my gratitude over to KT roster for making such a great games together.
저희가 함성 소리를 다시 한번 느낄 수 있는 기회인 것 같습니다. 现在6冠加身，他也是依旧 英雄联盟最高的山，它依旧屹立不倒；它也是英雄联盟最长的河，它依旧奔流不息。所以最后，我也想让他代替 T1 的所有选手们，跟所有的粉丝们来说一句话吧。네, 다시 한번 우승 축하드리고요. 혹시 마지막으로
Congratulations one more time on the win, on the title. Before we go, anything would you like to say to the fans who has been supporting you?
오늘 또 이렇게 큰 무대에서 여러분들 앞에서 경기할 수 있어서 너무 좋았고요. 앞으로도 파이팅 하겠습니다.
非常感谢粉丝们一路以来的支持，能够在全世界
I
这
thank
么大的
every
一个
single
舞
one
台
of
去
you,
进行比
and
赛
I was really happy and grateful that I was able to deliver this game on such a big stage in front of every one of you guys. I will keep working hard.
接下来我们把时间交给夏安。
是的，与此同时，我们真的觉得 T1 的每一位选手都在今夜铸造了属于自己的传奇。现场的朋友们，再次的欢呼声好吗？当然了，在此刻，我们也要把所有的聚光灯聚焦于一位选手之上，因为他创造了整个夺冠之路上的璀璨时刻，而他也将荣获 OPPO 2025年全球总决赛 FMVP。与此同时，也让我荣幸地为大家有请英雄联盟史上的传奇选手，入选2025年英雄联盟名人堂的 UZI 选手来为 FMVP 颁奖。让我们欢迎 Uzi。
木马选手，木马武士选手，Uzi选手。
好的，欢迎 UZI。那其实也确实是非常非常精彩并且焦灼的一场 BO5，一场精彩绝伦的决赛。而且 UZI 其实也在我们中文流的评论席也陪伴大家一同观赛了嘛。看完之后有什么想说的？
真的今天真的打出了一场非常非常精彩的比赛，然后恭喜你们，恭喜 T1夺冠。
是的，那接下来 UZI 也要为我们揭晓本届 OPPO FMVP 的归属，而这位选手也是由全球的专家评审团共同投票选出。UZI， 接下来把时间交给你，为我们大声的宣布本届2025年全球总决赛 OPPO FMVP 的人选。
구마 요시。
구마 요시 선수， 다시 한번 선수 축하드립니다. 축하드립니다. 再次恭喜
Kuma Yushi. Please give it up for the OPPO Finals MVP, Kuma Yushi.
那接下来我们也和我们的 FMVP 选手来进行一个简单的采访。恭喜你获得了 OPPO FMVP。其实每一场比赛，我们都觉得 Kuma Yushi 总是那个能够 carry 队伍的永远稳定的射手路，而且我们觉得 Kuma Yushi 选手之前的时候也有说过。其实比起胜负，好像去享受游戏，做好自己才是最重要的。那现在获得了 OPPO FMVP， 有什么样的心情？今天在舞台上打得开心吗？ MVP 받는 거 축하드립니다.
Congratulations on winning the finals MVP as well. Kuma Yushi, in the previous interview, you mentioned that instead of the victory, instead of the competition, you said you were just very grateful to be able to play on stage. How do you feel about the win today, and how do you feel about winning the finals MVP?
Origana gì nữa ta, hai cái mới Ari, Zone hàng hiệu Sinat. Và bây giờ cái thứ 9.
일단은 너무 꿈만 같고요. 오늘 이렇게 파임 받을 수 있을 거라고 생각 못했는데 파임에 선정해 주셔서 너무 감사드리고, 사실 올해는 저에게 되게 힘든 해였습니다. 항상 이제 증명의 아이콘으로 매 해마다 증명을 했었는데 이번에 증명이 좀 다른 점이 있다면은 제 자신에게 저를 증명하는 한 해였다고 생각을 하거든요. 그래가지고 지금은 저에게 증명해냈고 제가 세계 최고 원딜이라고 생각합니다.
确实，对于我来讲，现在就好像在做
It
梦
feels
一样。
like a
我都
dream.
没有想到
I
我
did not expect this at all. Thank you so much for voting me for the Oppo Finals MVP. This year
Oh
was
my
very
God.
difficult for me. Every year was full of challenges and I always had to prove myself. You know, I have been the icon of being someone who always has to prove, but this year was a bit different because finally I feel like I have proven myself to myself. And I am really happy that I was able to prove who I am to myself, and I can say for sure that I am the best AD carry in the world.
大家同不同意？ 当然了，现在这个瞬间，你的队友们也在你的身边，一起见证着这个时刻。而所有的粉丝们，他们刚才也是高声呼喊着你的名字，为你应援。你有非常多的家人朋友都在一路见证着你的成长。在此时此刻，有没有什么话想要对一直支持你的所有人说的呢？ 사실 지금 함께 있는 팀원도 앞에 있어서 또
You are surrounded by your teammates and fans who have supported you all along. Is there anything you would like to say to those who have shown you so much love? To your family, to your friends, to your fans?
일단 아까 올해가 되게 힘든 한 해라 했었는데 팬분들의 응원이 없었으면은 좀 버티기 힘들었던 그런 한 해였던 것 같고 저를 끝까지 응원해 주시는 모든 팬분들 그리고 지인들, 가족들 그리고 함께 해준 팀원들에게 너무 감사한 마음 전하고 싶고 또 마지막으로는 하나님께 감사와 영광 돌리고 싶습니다.
其实就像我刚才提到的，我觉得今年对于我来讲有着非常多无比艰难的时刻。
I have mentioned that this year was very difficult to me, and had I not had the support coming from my fans, I believe I would not have been able to make it all the way to here. So I am very, very grateful for your support. Thank you to all my fans who has been showing so much love and support until the very end, and also my friends and family and my teammates. I am very, very thankful. And lastly, I would like to say I am very grateful to God for this opportunity.
네, 트로피를 다시 한번 들어 올리세요. 再次的恭喜他们。与此同时，也让我们再一次的感谢本次全球总决赛所有的参赛战队，所有台前幕后的工作人员，当然也要感谢所有线上线下热爱英雄联盟的每一个你。成都的朋友们，最后一次，让我们汇聚所有的能量与热情，让我们把所有的掌声和欢呼声送给2025年全球总决赛冠军战队 T1。
It is absolutely incredible, but they have done it again. The three-peat has been completed, and Faker has lifted his 6th World Championship trophy. The Summoners Cup, as we see it there, the design returned to the one he knows and loves so much from the first time he wanted to go for the three-peat. But now, finally getting that honor for him, Emily, and the rest of T1.
Yeah, I think you can tell how much it means to all of these T1 members, right? We talked about their struggles domestically. We've talked about how impressive it is that Faker keeps reinventing himself to end up right here, lifting the Summoners Cup. And I don't think anything encapsulates this as much as Doran's emotion as he was lifting that trophy, Azale.
I mean, it's just incredible to see, you know, Doran has had this career that has been defined by some of these missteps. I think he had a fantastic series here today overall, really earned that world championship. And for everyone else, yeah, they were already world champions, but now they have done the three-peat. No one had done that in the history of League of Legends. To me, it is point blank period, the greatest roster we have seen in League's history.
Absolutely, and you could also tell how much that MVP trophy meant to Gumayusi, right? He cited his struggles this year in the first part of the year, substituted out for Smash, came back, wins like MVP of Worlds Finals and his third Summoners Cup. Are you kidding me?
It's
That's
crazy.
amazing.
It's even crazier because I think we saw the arc within this series. He was struggling with himself just a little. Those moments where he's usually so on point, it didn't quite work out. But Game 5 is all that matters.
I mean, he showed up when it mattered most, and I loved what he said, that this is the year he finally proved himself to himself.
Yeah.
And to me, I think there's nothing better than that. And what a special moment. Not only does he win the Finals MVP, but to have a legendary AD carry being the one presenting that to you, I think just makes it even cooler. Uzi, the one up there on stage to give it to him.
No, he's clapping. I have also a special note if you're still watching. We will, hopefully, we gotta ask, we'll get Faker to come to the desk to give a goodbye and a